Episode 93, Murphy's Comedy Club, Politics with Paddy Murphy. Pope Donald Trump. Paddy Murphy, after Mass at Manhattan St. Patrick's Cathedral one Sunday, met Cardinal Dolan, and he asked the Cardinal if it was true that President Trump was in consideration to be Pope after Pope Francis died. The Cardinal reported to Murphy that there really was church interest in Trump as Pope. So Dolan sat down with Trump to see if he was willing. Trump was astounded at the idea, but he rejected the idea and gave reasons why. First, he said, "I'm not a Roman Catholic, although my wife is, and I love Catholics. Second, I love the job I have now. And third, I don't accept demotions." Here's another one. Governor Healy. Mass Governor Maura Healy and some of her staff were flying over the state in a small plane when, looking down, the governor mused, we could crack open a window, drop out a few $20 bills, and make a few citizens very happy. The staffers all laughed at her joke, except for Paddy Murphy at the back of the plane. Murphy leaned over and whispered to the person next to him, "Or we could open the door, drop her ass out, and make everybody in the state happy." And voting Democrat. Paddy Murphy told me that he got a phone call from a friend. The guy told Paddy that Paddy's Uncle Sean voted Democrat in the last two elections. Paddy says, "That's crazy. Uncle Sean was an active Republican and a Trump guy, and I'm sure he wouldn't have voted Democrat if he was still alive." Burying the politicians. A busload of politicians were driving down a County Cork road when all of a sudden the bus ran off the road and crashed into a tree in Paddy Murphy's field. Murphy, after seeing what happened, went over to investigate. He then proceeded to dig a hole and bury the politicians. A few days later, the local sheriff came out, saw the crashed bus, and then asked Paddy, "Were they all dead?" Paddy Murphy replied, "Well, some of them said they weren't, but you know how them politicians lie." God and a Trump supporter. One of Paddy Murphy's pal, a Trump supporter, dies and goes to heaven. God says to him, "For the most part, you lived a good life, so as a courtesy, you may ask me one question, and I will give you an honest answer." The Trump supporter asks, "Who really won the 2020 election?" God replies, "Joe Biden won. It was a free and fair election." After a moment of silence, the Trump supporter says, "Wow, this goes even higher than I thought." Biden postage stamp. When President Biden was completing his presidency, he wanted a special postage stamp issued with his picture on it. He stressed that it should be of the highest quality. The stamps were duly released and the former president was pleased. But within a couple of days of the release of the stamp, he began hearing complaints that the stamp was not sticking properly. He was furious, so he ordered an aide, Paddy Murphy, to investigate the matter. Murphy checked into it at several post offices and then reported back to the former president. He told Biden that there was nothing wrong with the quality of the stamp. The problem was that people were spitting on the wrong side. Democrats and Republicans. Paddy Murphy was talking to a friend's little girl, and she said she wanted to be president someday. Both of her parents are liberal Democrats, and they were standing there. So Paddy asked her, "If you were to be the president, what's the first thing you would do?" She replied, "I'd give food and houses to all the homeless people." "Wow, what a worthy goal," said Murphy. "You don't have to wait until you're president to do that. You can come over to my house and mow the grass, pull weeds, sweep my yard, and I'll pay you $50. Then I'll take you over to the grocery store where the local homeless guy hangs out, and you can give him the $50 to use toward food or a new house." She thought that over for a few seconds because she's only 6. And while her mom glared at me, the little girl looked me right straight in the eye and said, "Why doesn't the homeless guy come over and do the work and you could just pay him the $50? And I said, "Welcome to the Republican Party." Her folks still aren't talking to Paddy. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and or refer a friend who might be interested in this Old Boston podcast series. Again, my thanks.